So much for joining us today on this absolutely wonderful Friday. My name is Evan. I've been on Midwest Photo Live a couple times. Maybe you recognize me, maybe you don't. Someone you might not recognize unless you've come in and partook in our awesome rentals department is our guy Dwight here. Dwight,
hey guys.
How's it going? Welcome to Midwest Photo Live.
Oh, not bad, man. Not bad. How about you, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to talk about some gimbals with you today.
Yeah, fun gimbal stuff.
Which you might know about, having known that we're doing a gimbal stream today. So we got a lot of really cool stuff. But before we get into that, if it's your first time watching Midwest Photo Live, or even hearing about Midwest Photo, which first of all I'm a little confused how you got to the video, but nonetheless, welcome. Super happy to have you. Midwest Photo is a camera, video, photo, and printing store located in Columbus, Ohio. If you're driving on the freeway and you see the exit for Weber Road on Silver Drive, hey, maybe stop in, give us a visit. Consider checking out our rentals department. We're going to be talking about rentals a little bit too. And you can check us out online at mpex.com. Check out some new products, learn about all of our different departments, our printing, our rentals, and all that super cool stuff. We're open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, so give us a visit. But without further ado, I'm super excited to talk about one other really quick thing is Midwest Photo Picks, which you can learn about by going to midwestphotopicks.com. We have a super special offer. If you sign up, you can get 20% off your first order, which is a really great deal. We also have tons of super great membership benefits. You get unlimited JPEG storage, which is kind of a super big deal. We have quarterly deals, so you can if you're a member, you get a little kickback for being a part of the MPEX family. Some discounts and deals on some of our regular products, which is super great. So check out midwestphotopicks.com, upload some photos, get some cool stuff made. I know Valentine's Day is coming up. It's a little too late to order for Valentine's Day, but maybe you're celebrating a little late. Maybe you're celebrating the weekend after. Maybe you just want to get someone something special. Midwest Photo Picks is a really great option for that. Dwight, have you ever used Midwest Photo Picks before?
So I have actually. I've gotten a few prints for myself. Got some film photography prints done. So, great work, man. Great work.
I got my first roll of film ever developed very recently.
Nice.
And so it was super cool seeing all the photos get uploaded to Photo Picks and getting some luster prints printed and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're a seasoned photographer or looking to get into it, Midwest Photo Picks, that's the place to be. But we also do video, and that's kind of what we're going to be getting into today with Gimbal Gab, which is a name I'm very happy that I came up with. So right here we have a Sony camera. You want to tell us a little bit about what you're shooting with here, Dwight?
Yeah, so pretty much I have the Sony FX3 here. It's one of Sony's cinema cameras. It's going to be pretty much the baby brother to the FX6. The FX3 is kind of right in the middle of the FX6 and the FX30. It's going to be a full frame cinema camera for you. I love this camera. It's great.
That's awesome. So, is there a particular gimbal that you really like to use?
So, my favorite gimbal to use is probably going to be the RS3 Pro.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, mainly because of that auto locking feature.
Sure.
Auto locking feature is to die for. It's great. Saves so much time.
Sure.
Just makes everything so easy when you're doing run and gun stuff. You don't have to worry about your cradle just smacking around on the gimbal, possibly damaging your camera, your gimbal motors, things like that.
Yeah.
So that auto locking feature is a lifesaver.
That's awesome. I'm super excited to start balancing a gimbal.
Yeah.
So I guess we've got some gimbals back over here. Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and grab the Pro over there?
The Pro? Yeah.
It's a big guy.
The big, beefy baby.
Now, I've worked with the gimbal once before, and it was a very new experience, something I had never done before. Yeah. I think these things are really super cool.
Super cool.
They're not super pricey. Like even the Pro, it's not an outrageous price point.
No.
I argue, and it can make for some really cool shots. It's just learning how to use it.
Yeah, so DJI used to have a gimbal, the Ronin M. Huge gimbal, big two-handed gimbal. You had to hold it like this. You needed a stand to set it up. Super expensive gimbal. But then DJI started coming out with these more portable gimbals like this,
Sure.
starting with the Ronin S, I believe. Yeah, the Ronin S.
Yeah.
Then they made the SC and on forth and just kept making them. And these things are amazing, super cheap compared to products like the Ronin M and bigger gimbals like that.
Sure.
So it's a great option for anybody doing run and gun shooting, anybody doing work where they need not the heaviest setup in the world, but yeah, it's great.
That's really cool.
Great.
Now, for a first-time gimbal viewer,
Yeah.
there's a lot going on here. So do you want to kind of explain what all these arms and pivots and points of articulation are going on?
So you're going to have different points where your gimbal is going to move. That's just going to be the motors there for you. You're going to have to balance each motor, though,
Sure.
which is the fun part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you're not balanced, the camera's just going to floop and fly all over the place. It's really cool that, we've got these powerful motors within the gimbal, but, if you're still not working alongside the motors and balancing the camera, the motors are just going to have too much strain. They're not going to be able to work properly.
Right. So yeah, if you don't balance this gimbal properly and get everything at the right center of balance, your motors are really going to struggle, causing you to pretty much kill those motors out over time. So
Sure.
you want to make sure that you find the center of balance for each point on the gimbal before you turn that baby on. Another rule of thumb with a gimbal is to never turn it on without a camera on top, because
Sure.
your motors will freak out and you'll end up burning your motors out eventually.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
We're going
let's
to
get
pop that plate on.
this plate on so I can show you these different points that you need to balance. When going through to balance the different points, it's always best to follow the same steps over and over again. There is a certain way to go about balancing it so that you make it the easiest for yourself in the long run. So slide this plate off here.
I didn't even realize that one just slides right off. You're able
Yeah.
to put the plate on the camera, and then you have your secondary plate.
Yep,
Makes
quick
it
release plate
super
there.
easy.
Another really nice thing about balancing the RS3 Pro is that it has this little turn wheel right here. That is really amazing for getting that fine-tuned balance when you need to slide the camera front and back. So that is a big time saver when it comes to this gimbal.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Slide this on here. Cool. So once we get this on here, like I said, there's just a certain way that you want to go about balancing it, just certain steps you want to take, just so that you save yourself a lot of pain in the long run. So once you have this on here, the gimbal does have these locking mechanisms here that will lock the motors for you so you can balance all the other axes without having the gimbal swing around. So you just want to flip that switch there. Now this axis here is unlocked.
Easy.
Easy peasy. So the first spot that you want to balance is going to be your 90-degree angle facing up. So essentially what you want to do is you want to have your camera stay in the same spot. That's how you know you found the center of balance for whatever axis you're trying to balance. So with this axis here, you want to unloosen this knob there, and that is going to let you slide this axis up and down. So you want to slide this axis up and down and find that middle point.
So the camera's no longer falling forward or backwards.
Nope, yep. You just want to find that center of gravity for the camera.
And there's no like real science to this,
No,
depending on the camera, depending on the lens.
Yep.
It's kind of just feeling it out until you get that perfect,
Cool.
just like that.
Yep, just like that. As you see, the camera just stays up there, just like that. Easy peasy.
Awesome.
So now the next axis you want to balance is going to be that front and back axis. So what tends to happen if you balance the front and back first before you balance this 90-degree axis here is that once you balance this front and back, it'll be on, but then you go to balance this and it just throws your front and back off, and then you're stuck just running around in a circle the whole time.
Yeah.
So like I said, with this, you have that nice turning knob here so that you can fine tune that balance and get it really, really quick.
Awesome.
It's what's really amazing about this gimbal. Now I'm going to test it. Yep, the lever threw it off a tad bit, so I'll just throw it back some.
It's really interesting how even the smallest thing can affect
Yeah,
you know, having the lever back, you've got that back weight, and then you put the lever to actually lock it.
So
And that can change, you know, if you have, you know, anything on your hot shoe. Or
Yep, that just reminded me to tell them. So before you throw the camera onto your gimbal, make sure you have lens caps off, you have filters that you need on your lens. Anything that you need on the camera or lens, you want to make sure you have it on there before you balance it. Just because you throw one small thing on there and it's going to throw your balance off, and you're going to have a bad day. Your gimbal's going to be shaking all over the place, not holding the weight correctly. It's not a fun time. Cool. So now that we have all of this balanced up here, the next spot that we want to move to is going to be back here.
Okay.
And you can unlock that on this gimbal by simply hitting that lever there. And as you see, the balance is too far to the right here. So you want to hit this lever here and slide this axis back and forth until you get that perfect balance.
there we go.
And we can go ahead and lock that down again so it's not swinging around all in our way. So now with this last axis, I've seen people do it plenty of different ways. The most effective way for me to balance this last axis is to actually hold the gimbal towards my body like this and kind of let gravity tell me if this last axis is balanced or not. So I'll unlock this here. And as you see, it is falling down to the right here. And we want this last axis to stay balanced right here in the middle and not move anywhere. That's how we know we found that center of gravity. So we're going to push this axis back and forth until we find that center of gravity, which it is right there.
There you go.
Perfect. All right, now we should be all ready to turn this gimbal on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lock all these motors just so they can see the really cool features of this gimbal when
It looks
we turn
great.
it on. You want to give it a, you want to go ahead and turn it
Yeah,
on?
you know what? I will. Do you want to, are you able to direct me? Here we go.
Yeah.
We got power button right down here. You can actually see that with camera
Power
2.
button's going to be right there. Just go ahead and hold that to turn it on.
Sure thing. Gonna hold the power button.
So now the gimbal is turned on. You
All
see
right.
the screen's on there. So once you turn the gimbal on and you're throwing a new payload on there, the first thing you want to do is you want to calibrate those motors to that payload on your gimbal here. So each gimbal is going to be different. With that, most of the time you would just go into the settings and find the motor calibrations and just auto-tune the gimbal, which I'll do right here for that. Let's see if I can turn this around this way.
There you
So
go.
if you hit this button here, you can go ahead, start calibration.
And it's nice that this is a touchscreen as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great, great thing too. And it's
Super.
such a big screen too, such a big clear screen too.
Yeah.
Makes it great. So once you start this calibration, your camera's gonna do a little dance on there.
Totally normal.
Totally normal.
The AI has not taken over.
And
Yeah.
gimbal calibration is complete. So now it should be tuned for this payload here.
All right.
Awesome.
And from there, you can use the joystick
Yep.
to control. You can move around. It'll be super smooth.
Everything's gonna be super smooth. You can do all your cool movements now. You can hold it out like this. Get all your cool movements going.
Now, is there anything in particular that you like using a gimbal for to shoot?
Yeah,
Like your
so-
go-to?
So I shoot a lot of music videos. That's my main thing. And I use gimbals a lot for my tracking shots, performance shots. Whenever I need to get like really dynamic movement to just make the shot really interesting, that's when I would go for a gimbal.
That's really cool. I know I used it, the first time I used a gimbal was back in college. I used it to shoot a film that I was participating in. And we used that for a lot of like high action shots.
Yep.
It was like a horror thriller type deal. So
Sick.
running throughout the hallways and stuff, that kept shots super smooth. We were,
Yep.
you know, running around corners and stuff, and it still looked sick.
It's a fun time. They're actually really easy to use. The balancing part is probably going to be the most difficult learning curve of using a gimbal. Once you get the balancing, operation of it is actually pretty easy. I mean, there's some things that, you know, you got to keep in mind when using it, like slight bend to your knees, keeping your elbows tucked into your body just to limit that shock from your footsteps. But I mean, it's a pretty simple system to use once you get it all balanced.
Right. And now that you've watched us balance, it came put together, balance this particular gimbal, you can actually come to Midwest Photo Rentals and rent this very gimbal. Yeah. Super easy, you know, low commitment. If you want to try out gimbals, you know, you can come in. I'm sure you could ask Dwight some questions. He'd be happy to assist. So that's a super great option for a gimbal, and I'm really glad. But this isn't the only DJI that we have here, actually.
This isn't the only DJI we have here.
I think we have another little guy back here. Pull that real quick. This is from the same series, actually. Yeah. This is the Mini. Dwight, have you used the Mini before?
So I have not used the Mini for any projects or anything yet, just because the payload's going to be so low.
Sure.
But this is a really, really good gimbal for content creators. People who want to make Instagram reels, people who need to record content for their business, if they have a clothing brand and they need to record like a short commercial themselves. It's a great gimbal for that.
Yeah, super easy entry level. I mean, it's not that much more, you know, it's a lot better price than the Pro. Easy on the hands. It's made out of the same great materials too. Yeah. It's got that touchscreen also, which is pretty crazy cool for a little guy like this, I think.
It's awesome. One of the really, really cool features about this gimbal is that you have the option to switch the plate from the side to the bottom of the gimbal. So
no kidding.
To mount your camera in vertical mode, all you have to do is change that plate to the side of the gimbal and you can mount your camera vertically.
Wow.
So with the RS3, in order to do that, they have a portrait mode on the RS3, which is a little bit clunkier. You just don't get as smooth of a movement as you do with the camera naturally just mounted on the side. But the portrait mode works. It works when it works.
That's really cool. I mean, it just might make sense to stick this guy with, you know, some more traditional shots. But having a gimbal like this, you know, that's high quality, that's specifically created for like content creation, super cool concept, and you know, it's really awesome that there are options like that available.
And it's super cool that they made it so affordable too.
Yeah.
I believe it's in the $300 range for it.
Not crazy for a gimbal.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like, you know, you're making money off of your content, or you're planning on making money off of your content. Great option.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I'm a really big fan of these DJI gimbals, but that's not all.
Oh.
We have more gimbals.
We do.
The Gimbal Gab continues. So is there anything that we need to prep before turning this off?
Actually, no. We can actually show them how cool it is when it auto locks itself.
Okay.
So if you go ahead and just hold that power button on that there.
Sure thing. I'll go ahead and we'll just center him.
Yeah. Go ahead and hold the power button, it's automatically just going to fold up and lock just like that.
Awesome.
No movement.
That's great.
It's staying there. It's not going anywhere.
You don't have to worry about the camera flying all over.
You don't have to worry about the camera
motors are
just
off.
Spinning everywhere. You don't have to worry about going through, locking all the motors yourself and forgetting to lock a motor and the camera spinning still. It's great. What's also awesome, you turn it back on and you're ready to shoot again.
Wow. And that's assuming that you haven't taken the camera off and you need to rebalance and everything.
Yep. You take the camera off, you're going to need to rebalance. More than likely just the front and back balance point there.
Sure.
But that takes no time at all with this little spinning nut.
Right. That's awesome. Cool. DJI, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. But that's not all. The Gimbal Gab continues.
Yeah.
We're switching brands and moving over to Moza. Now this is a gimbal we actually showed off during last week's live. And Liz kind of gave you a little teaser that we're going to be talking about it today, and here we are to talk about it today. If you've stopped in to Midwest Photo at all, you might notice that the Moza gimbal here is part of our deals table. We've been kind of pushing Moza a little bit on our deals table recently, and especially during the holiday season as well. So this is the Moza Aircross 3. We also have the Moza Aircross 3 Professional Kit, which comes with some little bonuses. But this is the standard kit. Really nice gimbal too. It's it's another option that you can go for. And before we even get into showing off this guy, I want to let you guys know that right now on mpex.com you can use the code GAB2 to save $110.10 on this very gimbal, which brings the price down to $328, which is good way to get into a gimbal, I'd say.
That's a steal for a gimbal.
Yeah.
That is a steal.
So, I mean, for everyone that's interested in this gimbal, I think let's go ahead and give them a kind of a look through of it.
Cool.
So you've got those three kind of axis, just like the Ronin that we were looking at.
Right, right.
I've got your plate right here.
Plate. Awesome. Let me throw this on the plate here. I got my penny.
So setting it up is widely the same. Maybe some of the latches and stuff work a little bit differently, but you're still going to be locking it up and putting it on.
It's pretty much going to be the exact same. I mean, the real thing is if you learn one gimbal, you pretty much know them all.
Sure.
They're pretty similar, going back and forth.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been probably a year and a half to 2 years since I last used a gimbal, but when I was prepping for this, it just came back. It was, it's pretty basic once you give it a go.
Yep, they're pretty much all pretty similar. You have pretty much your same locking point, your same balancing points. Pretty much follow that same formula of balancing the gimbal.
For sure.
So once you learn it once, it's kind of like riding a bike. Once you learn it once, you don't forget.
Yeah. This one's got a little bit different. You use that guy to.
Cool. So now that we have the plate on, it's got a little lock here for the plate, which you just press that down and slide it on through.
And that's nice. So if the camera unbalances, it's not going to go falling.
And your plate here is loose. It's not going to go falling and smash your lens, because that'd be a bad day. That would be a very, very bad day. Cool. So essentially with this gimbal, the same thing when it comes to balancing it. You want to unlock this first axis right here and do your 90-degree balance. So nub there, and you slide back and forth for that same balance again.
This is the fun part where we're really focused on the gimbal. Get some gimbal ASMR, maybe.
Gotta find that center of balance, man. You gotta get focused to find that center of balance.
Absolutely.
Cool.
I hope everyone in chat is enjoying their Friday as well, enjoying this MPEX Live. Do you guys have gimbals out there? Anyone out here have gimbals? Anyone maybe thinking about getting a gimbal? Let us know.
So, I'm trying to find this front and back balance here. It's almost there. There it is.
There we go.
So lock that on down. That looks great. Stand still. So let's lock this motor again so that we can balance our sideways axis here. Let's unlock that.
Perfect. I don't know, we could maybe turn that a little bit sideways. Get a good, nice view of that.
Alrighty.
There we go.
Cool. So, same concept. You just slide it back and forth until you find that center point, which I just found it there already.
It's that easy.
Can you tell I've been doing this for a while?
How long have you been doing this?
I would say probably for about 5 to 6 years.
Sure.
It's hard to keep count once you get so. Once you do it for so long, you just kind of forget. But yeah, I think it's been about 5, 6 years, and I started using gimbals maybe 4 years ago.
Sure.
The whole first year of doing video projects and everything like that, I just would shoot a lot of my stuff handheld and on tripod because that's what I could really afford at the time. I was new.
And you like just hope the tripod stays steady.
Yeah, just hope the tripod stays steady. And then I upgraded from that to a shoulder rig system.
Okay.
And then from a shoulder rig system to a Steadicam system. And then from Steadicam finally to a gimbal system.
Come a long way.
Come a long way.
We have a question from the chat.
Oh, question from chat.
Which gimbal do you find is easiest to balance?
I would say probably between the RS3 and the RS3 Pro. If you don't need the heavy payload of the RS3 Pro, which the payload of that is about 10 pounds, the RS3 is a great option as well. It holds 6.6 pounds, which is still a pretty heavy payload. The 6.6 pound camera is a pretty big camera, so.
Sure. But I feel like, in my opinion, at the end of the day, the hardest part of balancing a gimbal is just learning how to balance a gimbal.
Yes.
So like that's really the biggest hurdle. Anything else is just like pebbles in the street.
So again, balancing this axis here, I just hold it out to the side and let gravity do its work.
There we go.
And it's a little off that way. A little off that way. And can I be happy with that? Nah, let's try to get a little bit more exact. I'm happy with that one there.
Perfect.
So let's lock that down. We can set this down. Now with the Moza gimbal, the Moza gimbal does not have the auto locking feature. So you have to make sure that you go through and unlock all of these motors before you turn it on, or the gimbal will scream at you and tell you to turn it off.
So we've got 3 of them here. It's these little red switches.
All these red switches here. So red switch here. There's a red switch here, and another red switch that's kind of hidden behind the camera, if you guys can see it right there. Cool. So this is all ready to turn on. Would you like to do the honors?
You know what? I think I just might. I really appreciate you being so courteous.
No problem. We both have to have fun, right?
Absolutely. So for the Moza, we actually have another red button right down here, and so you'll just hold that one down. And just like that, we're on.
Yeah, we're on. So again, just like with the DJI gimbals, once you turn it on, first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you go into the menu, which to go into the menu, you have to hold the M button here.
Let's see, yeah, there we go.
It will take you to the menu. You scroll on down until you get to Auto Tune here. Click over to the right and over to the right to Auto Tune. Now the gimbal's going to do its fancy little dance here again.
It's nodding in agreement. Oh, now it's saying no. Damn it.
Cool. Just give it a second to do its thing. And it'll give you a prompt once it's all done. Sweet. It's all done.
Awesome.
So now we hold the menu button again to head back to your main screen. And you are all set to go.
We can get those sweeping motions.
Get those sweeping motions. Whoosh.
Staying steady. Well, that is awesome. Cool. Just as easy as the DJI, arguably.
Just as easy.
And remember, use code GAB2 on mpex.com. Get a whole $110 off on this guy, which is really great. You know,
yeah.
I think arguably, you know, between the Mini, the DJI Mini, and this guy, you know, it's getting to a similar price point, but you can get the kind of quality cinema gimbal use out of this one, whereas the Mini will get you some more content creator type shots. So that is super awesome. Love this guy.
Yeah.
But we have one more gimbal that I really want to show off. Cool. And so I'm gonna get us ready for that one actually. I have a tripod back here because this gimbal is not an electric motorized gimbal, but is it instead analog. And so I would love, Dwight, if you would be able to pop that Sony off.
Yeah.
And we can show off a gimbal from ProMaster, which is great for another kind of photography or videography.
plate off for you.
Perfect. So I've got it back here. This is the ProMaster GH26, and it comes in a bag. This actually isn't the gimbal, it's just the bag the gimbal comes in. But I'll go ahead and open this up. You get all kinds of goodies on the inside here. So you've got an arm for it. It opens up. You have the plate. Love a plate. And then you have the actual gimbal itself, which is kind of an odd looking guy when you see it. You know, it doesn't have that 3-point articulation. You're like, what am I supposed to do with this? Well, I'll tell you what you're supposed to do with it, and I'll show it off a bit. Gonna set that down. So this kind of gimbal is going to pop onto a tripod. And so I have a tripod right here, and we can kind of just twist this ball head off and put, whoop, thank you, sir.
No
Put the gimbal on. And so this kind of gimbal is really great for kind of like birding photography, maybe some nature stuff where you're going to be stationary the whole time, but you still want to get some sweeping shots. Maybe you're trying to track something. I think this is really cool. I do not personally photograph birds, but I think something like this is a really cool piece of, I guess it's not tech. I guess it kind of is.
Technically tech.
It's technically tech. I think I can get behind that.
Yeah.
So this is really cool. So it pops on just like this, and you can tighten it with this. I'm going to be moving this tripod all over the place. There is a little knob back here. There we go. Now you can see it. And you just tighten that, and now you're locked in. If you want to rotate the gimbal at all, you'll just loosen that up just a little bit, and now you can spin around without the gimbal coming off the tripod, which is pretty cool. You've got another point of articulation up here, and it's got a lock, and so if you just unlock it, you can now swivel up and down, which is cool. And if you want to kind of move a bit more slowly, if you just twist this other one, it'll allow for more subtle movements, which I think it's really cool whenever, you know, a gimbal or a tripod has like a specific locking knob, and then one that allows you to make small little movements. But before we move on any further, I think we just put the actual camera on it. So you've got two different, do you know what the technical term for these guys are?
Quarter 20 and 3/8.
There we go. So you've got two options for putting your camera on, and if you don't want to use one of them, they just pop out and you can put the little rubber guy back in. Super easy. So we'll pop the camera on real quick. Dwight, do you think you could? Do you think you would see a use for this in your setup at all? It is a bit more photography.
It's a little bit more photography focused, but I think I could be able to use it with my film cameras whenever I need to do, because I do a lot of nighttime stuff with film.
Sure.
A lot of nighttime portraits, so you know I have to have a shutter release cable, a whole tripod for that.
Yeah.
This could work really cool for that. It would give me some really cool angles that I can't get on a normal tripod, which would be really awesome.
Yeah,
It'd be
absolutely.
really awesome.
Do we happen to have our plate penny?
Plate penny.
Our official Midwest Photo plate penny. Thank you, sir. All right, I'll just tighten that real quick. And then we can put the camera on. So if you can just loosen the guy right here, and then the plate just kind of slides in. It's nice. It's another one of those kinds of plates that doesn't allow the camera to fall off.
Nice.
Locks it in. So we'll tighten that up. And you also might have noticed that this came with an arm. It's kind of up to you if you want to use the arm, because you know if you have the arm on, chances are you're going to be wanting to hold the shutter. So you can move the camera with the shutter, you can move the camera with the arm. It's up to you. But now you can see here that you can kind of just, you know, depending on the kind of camera you have, you can put your eye up to the viewfinder if you want. Or, you know, if you have one of those kinds of cameras that has a plate that pops out and kind of comes backwards, you could totally be looking up at the stars, at the sky, and still see if, you know, if your screen pops out like that. This guy, he moves around on 2 points. If you really only want to be moving at one point, you can just lock the other one. Now you're not swiveling up or down, you're just looking left and right. And that's great for some really cool panning shots if you're, you know, trying to stay stationary. You don't want to move your tripod at all, which can be such a pain. And then, you know, if you don't want to swing around at all, you can just lock that bottom one, unlock this top one, and you can slowly
Tilt.
look up and down.
Nice.
And that's great for some cool sky shots. So I think this guy's really cool. You can get it on Midwest Photo, or from Midwest Photo at mpex.com right now. If you use the code GAB3, you can save $37.49. And that brings the price all the way down to $212, which, you know, if you're serious about getting some outdoor photos, some birding photos especially, I think this is a pretty cool piece of kit to have as part of your gear.
Yeah, I could
setup.
definitely see how it would be more beneficial than using like a ball head setup or something
For sure.
like that.
You know, 'cause especially with like a ball head, you might fall down, stuff like that.
Scary. Oh, that's scary.
Yeah. So super cool guy. Code GAB3. Do it. You know you want it. It's exciting. It's some cool stuff. But outside of that, I think that pretty much covers Gimbal Gab for today. Dwight, how are you feeling?
I feel great.
I feel great too.
I feel great.
Man, I really appreciate you coming on to Midwest Photo Live. I had a real blast talking about gimbals with you.
No problem.
you did too.
Anytime. I had a great time.
Great. And thank you for tuning in. Guys, tune in next time at Midwest Photo Live where we'll talk about something cool. Until then,